Welcome to another episode of the Buy Time Podcast. I'm excited for today's episode because I have Doug Ecklund, CEO of Cellular Advantage. I think they have 33 locations now, and they're a dealer for U.S. Cellular. Doug, why don't we start with just tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. I'm a small town Iowa guy. Ended up in the big city of Des Moines, 30 some years ago, and we've got two kids, both. One's in grad school, one's in college, and then we've got Cellular Advantage, which started. We're in our 31st year. We just had our 30th anniversary.
Such an accomplishment.
So a couple kids when we were 24 years old, and my wife's name is Mitzi, and she worked for U.S. Cellular directly out of college. She got the opportunity to take over one of their stores, and so I told my boss I was taking a leave of absence, and we moved out of a one-bedroom apartment into a two-bedroom apartment so we could have an office. And we started a business, and somehow it's still kicking.
It's still kicking today. Yeah. I mean, you've grown it. It's just amazing how you're able to grow it and so quickly in 30 years. It may seem like a long time, but in the aspect of things, it's really short. And what are some of the struggles? So when you first got started, what are some of the struggles that you had?
In the beginning, it's probably like any startup. It's cash flow. Is a big part of it, especially in our business. You'd buy a phone for, back in the day, it's $150. You'd buy a bag phone or something, and you'd give that phone to the customer for free, and then you would wait to get paid an activation commission, and the activation commissions would come in from 30 to 60 days from the date of activation, depending on when the activation happened. So when we were trying to get financed, we go to the bank and we told them what we're going to do. A lot of them kind of scratch their heads, and they're just like, "So you're going to buy something, give it away for free, and wait to get paid for it?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's what we're going to do." And it took it probably took 5 bankers before we could find one that was creative enough to see our.
I understand that
see what
struggle.
We're trying to do. So yeah.
When I first started my business, I went to multiple bankers and had my business plan all lined out and neatly written out, and they told me, "No, we don't see it. We don't see it panning out." And It took so long for me to be able to figure out a way to get financing, and ended up starting with just credit cards to get started. It's tough.
We ran out of money a few different times and went the credit card route.
Yeah, you're cross your fingers. How am I going to make payroll?
Yeah. Well, I sold a Jeep to make payroll back in 1995. We were going to be short, and we fire saled my Jeep Cherokee Limited.
Sacrifices you make.
Yeah, and then Mitzi's mom and dad were nice enough to let us use their Chrysler K-Car station wagon with wood paneling on the sides, and it was always a fight to see who could get out the door fastest, so they didn't have to drive the Woody. We call it the Woody. It's part of the company story now at this point.
I love it. It's a great company story, and I love hearing the background. So you built this out, you got started, and then you started to build out your team. So talk to me a little bit about your teams and what makes it be your dream team.
The team, for us, it's all one thing we've really learned, and I think we just kind of lucked into it maybe in the beginning, but it's really turned into, we're very intentional about it at this point, and that's the culture. And so, we grew, just about grew it right into the ground, and there was no core values, there was no purpose statement, there was no real defining, what does this company stand for? And we opened 19 stores in 12 months at one point.
Wow, that's impressive.
And just about ran it right into the ground. And as we were coming out of that, trying to get it put back together, that's when we really figured out that we've got to stand for something, and there's something that's bigger than just being in the phone business. And so, we crafted a purpose statement, some core values, and those are things that really mean a lot to us. And that core leadership team, we're all in on that, and every interview right down the front line, we talk about those things because we want to hire for culture, not so much for the skill level. We'll train for skills, but if we can get people that are looking for a place that's going to be fun, it might be a little quirky, but it's full of respect and love. And I think in the business world, love is something that's not really talked about, but we're supposed to love each other, and that's something that we really try to do internally. And when we hire somebody, we're like, this is going to feel a little different probably, and we hope it does. And but that's the thing. And when you get the culture right, it really it's a multiplier. And I think Pat Lencioni, he's a famous business speaker, author. He talked about culture being a multiplier. So if you have a talent level of 7 in a store, but the culture in that store is really bad. It's maybe there's a toxic person in that store. It's not good. So the culture is maybe a 3.
Absolutely.
So you got a 7 times 3, it's 21. You got another store where the talent level is only a 5, but everybody gets along really well, and they're bought into what we're trying to do. So the culture is an 8. So that store's a 40. The 40 is going to kick the crap out of the 21 all day long. And we figured that out, that I'll take people that might not be the most talented, but we can train for that. But if they understand that we want, when that guest comes in the store, that we want that guest to leave feeling, if they walked in here, when they leave, we want them here. So if we can make their day a little bit better, that's the win ultimately.
And I love that. I love that you set those core values and that our employees are meaning more to you than just people and warm bodies. I feel like so many companies out there, it's just, I need a warm body. And you have the mindset of, no, we want to actually have core values, and we want to help them in every aspect of their life, and whether that be personal or, with the company. And I love that. That's great to hear that your company does that. I've actually had the privilege of talking to some of your old employees, and they said the number one thing that they loved about your company was the culture. And so
I appreciate that.
That means a lot that you shared that.
I think there was 2 cellular advantages, really. I've had it described that, like the first 10 years, it was almost, what can this thing do for me?
What can I get out of it?
What can I get out of it?
My whole team get out of it?
Yeah, and it was, we had this chance to grow, like I was talking about with the big growth that year. And I had visions of, we're going to make the Inc. 500. We were going to be part of the 500 fastest growing companies in America. We plotted it out. We're like, yep, we're going to hit that. We're going to hit that. We're going to hit that. We're going to have that honor. And and then we about just took it right in the ground. And it's just like, okay, there's got to be something more to it than that. And that's when, we really figured out that we have an opportunity to really help people that are a part of our group, just do life a little better, maybe. I don't know.
I love that. So talk a little deeper on that. So how did you come to that senses? Was it something that you and your wife talked about and you said, hey, we need to do something differently? Is it something that your whole entire team came to you on? Or is it something that you realized? What made you come to the realization that, hey, I need to focus more on my core values in my business, and not just all around me, and what can I get out of it?
The core values were birthed out of that train wreck that we had. It was you use the term dumpster fire, but it was, we were out of compliance on probably 3 or 4 things at the bank. They could have called our debt in at any time. We owed a lot of money. Things weren't the best at home. we were trying to open all these stores. We're in Chicago or Nebraska.
Spending lots of time doing all of
So I was terrible at home, as a father and as a husband. It was all about me, and work, blah, blah, blah. So when you really kind of were looking over the edge of the cliff, looking down the hill, as far as like, that's where I could be falling off this cliff any day if the bank calls. For me, there was a faith component that was never in my world before. We literally had a neighbor that was like, hey, do you want to come to church? And I'm like that's never really been a part of my world. And we hopped into church one day, and it was literally like we were the only people there. It was kind of like the message was directed right at us. And I'm like, all right, you got to recognize those moments. And for us, that was something when it was kind of a wake up call of, okay, let's try something different. And so that's where the whole concept of, we're going to try to enrich the quality of life for each and every person we come into contact with, whether they work for us or whether they're a guest coming in the store. And that's just that whole idea of, love is a verb. Can we love the people that come in? Can we love the people that are here? And that's just something that it's really worked out for us. And
I love it. You really built a good work culture, and sharing that story, it means a lot. So you built this company up, and you got to a place where you have your core values, and you went through all these challenges. And when would you consider that you made it? Like, when did you sit down and say, like, hey, we're doing well, we've made it?
Yeah, we got out the other side of the debt and everything, and we've been we've been happy to be debt-free for quite a while. And
what an accomplishment, by the way. Not many companies can say that.
Yeah, and that was something that, and we probably could have grown the business more had we wanted to entertain the idea of borrowing more money again to grow. But I think we got to the point where we were comfortable with what we were doing, and sometimes comfort is the enemy of doing something special. But that's what we're getting a little older, and so we're starting to think about things a little differently. But What was your? I'm blanking on the question right now.
Oh, you're good. So, what's some obstacles now that you might have? That you got to this place of comfort where you have the amount of stores that you want. What are some obstacles that you're seeing kind of in your everyday business aspect now?
Well, obstacles. I mean, staffing's always going to be a challenge. I feel like we've done a great job of. I mean, I think our turnover and retail turnover right now. I think if you look at it nationally, it's close to 100% a year. I mean, that's where it's just you've kind of got that bottom group that just they come in, maybe it's not for them and they leave. And
it's
so
like a circulation. It's just circulating, yeah.
Middle third stays a little bit longer. The top third are there longer. I mean, we were at 2022. We were at 42% in 2022, which we felt that was a pretty good deal. So staffing is going to be a challenge, and then the hours that we're open, I think, is another thing. You just got to find people that are, you're going to have some weekend hours, some evening hours, things like that. But and then the things that keep me up at night are just the things that we can't control. We're a dealer for a carrier. So U.S. Cellular's a carrier. If they're doing great, that's generally we're going to ride that with them. If they're not doing as well, then we're going to feel that as well. But we try to do the best we can on controlling the things we can control. And but I'd say and it's the same everywhere. I mean, staffing's
tough for everyone, especially in the retail industry or in service industry. Staffing is always a struggling. One thing, with your core values, I love that you talk about that because U.S. Cellular has a lot of core values too, and it goes to show that implementing core values and really helping your employees and actually providing value to them is going to help them not only in your company but in their personal lives, and that really shows.
I think our little company and their bigger company line up pretty well on a lot of things, which has been good. So,
you've grown 33 stores. And are you thinking about continuing growing? What's your plans there with the growth?
Yeah, I mean, we added 3 this year, so we grew by 10% this year. I think there's going to be, I hope there's going to be other opportunities going forward. So if we can look at an opportunity and figure out it should be profitable growth, then we'll certainly swing the bat at it. And
absolutely. So looking at this entire story, it's amazing to me to how much you've actually gone through to get to where you are. A lot of people don't see that, and especially as a business owner, they see what you are currently at, but they don't see what it took to actually get there.
Right.
So that's an amazing story. So you talked about all this time that you spent with work and how you kind of lost out on a lot of opportunities with your kids. If you could go back in time, would you still do the same thing, or what would you do differently?
No, I would do a lot of things differently. The kids were both pretty young during that 2002 to 2004 kind of. That was when we were really trying to ramp things up. So, we had a newborn and a 4-year-old at home. So, we figured it out by 2004, 2005. We had it all. We kind of had it figured out. So, but doing things differently, just. I don't know that I would have been able to really change my travel schedule, but I would have changed the fact that I felt like I'm the big CEO, so I'm gone a lot. But when I get back, I need time to for myself, kind of a thing. Which that'd be the one thing I would definitely
remember. Time for Doug. don't forget time for Doug, because it's just as important.
When you have kids, it's not about you anymore. And that's something that with the ego that I was really I was carrying around was hard for me to see that.
I understand completely. I have 2 kids, and it's like I'm running this business, and sometimes I go home and I realize I'm following up on emails, and I tell myself, it's only going to take a minute, and I look at the clock, and it's 8 o'clock, and it's their bedtime. And my wife's really good. She calls me out on it. She goes, "Hey, put your phone down. It's family time." And I'm like, "Okay." Phone goes down. So she calls it how it is. So you actually wrote a book. And it's called The 9 a.m. Meeting. What's that about? What's that all geared around?
So we thought we had a story to tell. So it's our employee turnover. The first part of it's the company story. It's just kind of like, all right, here's how we started. The mistakes we made, the growth, the problems that we had, all that kind of stuff, and then getting it straightened out. So we tell the story. But one thing that we identified is that our turnover in one market was different than the other markets, and we started digging into that. And that was the market where Nick Velati, who's our VP of sales, and I mean, he's in charge of all the stores and all the people. And
great guy, by the way. I've actually been able to talk to him a few times, and he always has great conversations.
He's the best. I mean, we've been together for 23 years now.
It's always good to have that good, strong partner.
Yeah. So he what was going on differently is he was meeting with people in his office. He just had an open sign up. If you want to come in and just talk about life, you could come in, and he did those at 9 a.m. And so we started talking about it, and I'm like, what are you doing, with everybody? And he's like, well, we're just talking about life. He's like, when you ask these salespeople, what do they want? He's like, you just get the deer in the headlights look, And so we started to help them dream a little bit, try to figure out what are the things that were important to them, whether it would be personal, could be financial, it could be, physical, it could be, just places they want to travel, just all these different things. So he had all these categories, and he just helped people kind of start dreaming a little bit. And then, okay, what are the things that need to happen to start doing those things? And in a lot of cases, it was people were carrying debt or things like that. So we started working on a financial peace model where people could enroll in that. They could start to get themselves out of debt, start to get an emergency fund built up, and then start saving money. But the whole thing with what he was doing, it was just such a much more personal touch, and we were not afraid to put personal and work together.
I love that.
Because everybody's got a mirror they look in, it's their work mirror, and everybody's got a mirror they look in, it's their home mirror. And if you got an unhappy face looking back at you in one of those two mirrors, it affects the other one.
100%.
And so we're like, well, if we can help equip people with more tools so that home mirror is smiling back at them, that's gonna help them at work.
Break that barrier.
So we're like, all right, we're gonna do something different, and we're gonna start talking about how work and personal go together. I mean, we had one guy came in, and he's like, my wife told me this was career suicide if I came in and started talking about my personal life, because his wife is working.
That's all they know.
His wife works at one of the big companies, like a principal or a Wells Fargo, and it's, hey, how you doing? Great.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I'm going to say it's great, even though my radiator just blew up on my car, and I need a new dishwasher, and I can't afford to pay for either one of them. Yeah. So the water cooler talk changed, and that's what we started noticing that. And so we wrote a book about it. We figured out our turnover, it cost us around $6,700 a person that we would turn over. And that would be in lost sales, productivity, the cost of hiring, cost of training, all those things. It was $6,700 a person. Wow. And Nick's market, back then he was a market director, he wasn't over the whole thing. But his market, when he was doing this stuff, I mean, his turnover percentage was around 26%. Chicago was over 100%. Nebraska was over 100%.
So
Missouri
he's at
was over 100%.
22%.
So like something is
he's
happening
doing
here.
something. He's
and that's
showing
what we
it.
figured out. So we wrote a book about it. It's called Taming the Turnover Tiger, but it's helping people connect the dots between why do they go to work and what do they want out of life. And when you put those two things together, it's really pretty cool what's happened. And so we've had a lot of fun with that. And
I really love that. I always ask people too. One of my questions is, if you didn't get paid for what you were doing, would you still go to work?
Yeah.
And a lot of people look at me like, obviously no. And having that culture, that's important. I would still go because I'm getting the knowledge, I'm learning. They care about me. They actually want to see me succeed. They want to actually build value in my life. And not many employers do that. And so a 9 a.m. meeting. If someone wants to buy your book, can they get it on Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon, but I mean, if you got people listening to this, if they want to shoot me an email, just send it to CEO@celladvantage.com.
CEO@celladvantage.com.
That's just kind of the generic. That's kind of the generic email for Cellular Advantage, but it'll get to me, and I'll just send you one. So I got to stack them in the office, and if we run out of them, that would be good for you, and then people can go buy them on Amazon.
Yeah, so go buy the book. Let's sell out.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And now you just recently, your daughter just got married.
She did.
And it, like, looking back on it, you can probably see how fast time goes by. Talk to me a little bit about that day. How were you feeling when she was getting married? Did you have any flashbacks of her being little? Or,
of course. Yeah.
How was that day?
The day was perfect in about every way. I somehow held it together for the most part. So.
Keep the tears from flowing. I'm thinking of my daughters. I'm like, man, they're only 4 and 8 months now, but I can't imagine a few years when they're getting married, and I'm just having to hold back these tears.
Yeah, the days are long and the years are short. So, but they opened the doors for us to walk down the aisle, and she's got her, her hand in my arm, and I could feel her start to shake, and I'm like, all right, I got to hold it together because. I'm like, if I lose it, she's going to lose it, and then it's going to be a mess going down the aisle. So we made it down the aisle okay, and I just, I said, hey, we got this. We're going to be good. And we love the guy she married. He's wonderful, but the day was great, and but man, it's like a blink of an eye. That's for sure.
It goes by so fast.
Yeah.
And everyone tells you that, and before you have kids, they're like, wait till you have kids, it'll go by fast. And I was that naive person that said, no, what do you mean? It won't change anything.
Right.
And then I had my first kid, and I realized that I blinked and 2 years went by.
Sure.
And it's amazing what time does. I think that's why it's so important to buy time. And a lot of times, I think people look at it and they go, you can't buy time. And you've been able to buy time. And the way you've been able to buy time is through the right staffing and being able to have the right management team in place. So talk to me a little bit about that, buying your time. What was it like the first time that you stepped outside of your business for, like, let's say a week or 2 weeks, and you knew it could run without you? What was your feeling?
No, the feelings, I mean, that's probably one of the most gratifying things, is just knowing that if I'm not there, nobody's going to know the difference at this point, which is great because, what we've done, and again, I don't know if we lucked into it or what, but we've got myself and three other people who are I'd call it like kind of the leadership team, and we've got each of the four of us knows the things that we're not any good at. Each of the four of us knows what things we are good at, and we are very comfortable in letting Matt handle anything that needs to be analyzed. It needs to be processed. It needs to be done from a number standpoint. Nick's so good with the people. Todd operationally is always able to figure out a better way to get things done. But we complement each other a lot, and that's what I think, call it dumb luck or call it whatever, but we've got a group that kind of fills in each other's gaps, and that's something that's been great for us. And
Absolutely.
It's
know your strengths, know your weaknesses,
and don't
rely on those that are better than you.
and don't try to fake it. I mean, if you're not good at something, it's okay to say that you're not good at it.
Ask for help.
Right.
Some people don't want to ask for help. It's like, ask for help if you need it.
And there's stuff and then I think when you get to the next level is where there's things that you're good at, but they suck the life out of you. I was pretty good at reading a lease and figuring out what should and shouldn't be in the lease, but man, I'd get done with it and I'm just like, wow, I just feel like I just went through a battle. And Todd's really good at that, and maybe he feels the same way and he's just doing it because he's nice, but he goes through those things, and he's good at negotiating these things. He's good at finding the different things that we need in them, and but getting to the point where not only I'm at the point where I can really just work on the things that I'm good at and they give me energy, as compared to things I'm good at that might take energy
and things
away.
You enjoy.
Right,
yeah.
Things I enjoy, and that's what's really fun for me. Like, we just had our leadership summit a couple months ago, so we had all of our store leaders into Des Moines, and you just get to speak into those people, and you get to see them at work, and you're just like, man, it's the most proud feeling that you can have for when you see the talent and the love they have for each other coming together is really cool.
It's just a feeling. It's almost hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. Doug, it's been my pleasure to be able to have you on this podcast. If somebody wanted to find more information about you, where can they go? Read your book.
Read the book. You've got. I'm on Twitter, Doug Ecklund, on Instagram at Doug Ecklund, on Facebook. You got LinkedIn, all that stuff. It's just pretty easy not hard to find. So
I love your story. It's so powerful, and I really want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Buy Time podcast and talking about how you purchase your time and all the strengths and struggles you went through.
Really cool to have me on. I love it. So,
guys, that is another episode of the Buy Time podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to share this with somebody that needs to hear the story. And if you are needing help with buying time, let me know. Send me a DM. Make sure to buy the book, The 9 a.m. Meeting, and let's sell out all the copies. Thanks. Until next time.